How are ya? The date is currently 9/2/2016. Sitting in the garage, as always, me, Adam Marziani, sitting next to three guitars, or two guitars and a bass guitar that are all clumped together, look like they're about to. I don't know, they're not about to do anything. They just look disorganized. This whole garage kind of looks disorganized right now, but whatever. So upstairs just now, I thought to myself, how you going to get anywhere if you don't consistently make these journals to prove to yourself that you can be consistent with making shit? And so, even though I was tired, I was very tired, I came down here and followed through on my plan. Or I didn't, this wasn't really part of a plan or anything, but came down here to be consistent. My consistency is what counts, and if I can just keep being consistent with things, such as running, which I've been consistent with for about a year, for over a year, a couple of years actually now, and, be consistent with that, and just be consistent with journal entries. That was a very loud way of saying journal entries. Sometimes I listen to myself, and I have, these moments of, sounds like moments where I just get a little overzealous, and I'll say things like, you'll hear the nervousness come out of in my voice, and I always related it to Nick's dog Alfie, the way it's the way it used to bark was there was something about the way Alfie barked that was very just grating to the ears. It might have just been because it was a smaller dog, and smaller dogs tend to have higher pitched barks, but I actually suspect that it was because Alfie, I think, had psychological problems. and so that tone sort of came through in his bark. And I think, when I'm talking, sometimes I'll get a little overzealous, like I said, and I'll just get, this tone in my voice that, it's it's very fucking grating to listen to. I don't know if anybody else has the experience of listening to my voice in that way. My instinct is that somebody else probably would hear it in that way. But, you never know. Who knows? Yeah, there was a video on YouTube I watched one time that also relates to this. Where the guy's his daughter is playing with a gorilla behind the glass at a zoo. And he's filming his daughter, but as he's filming his daughter, he's saying, "No, she's playing a game." It was a very thick Philly accent. As far from what I remember, in my memory, it was a very thick, "No, she's playing a game," with the gorilla, because she was playing with the fucking gorilla behind the glass, tapping on the glass or whatever, and the gorilla was tapping back. And the way that the father said, "No, she's playing a game," it sounded like he was thinking, "Can you just hurry the fuck up so we can go?" "No, she's playing a game." But it was a very passive-aggressive way of saying it. No, I'm not going to say it again. I've said it 5 times already. Yeah, but that's just, I feel sometimes that I also get that sort of thing in my voice where I'm just get a little overzealous sometimes. If I'm if somebody came up to me and started some shit or something, I'm sure I would make such a fool out of myself. I would say something so stupid. I would try to sound clever in the moment, but it would just come out sounding bad. I remember Anthony Cumia once said on his show that he was it was about the that incident where he was he was taking pictures in Times Square, and that woman walked up to him and started fucking hitting him in the face or whatever. And he was saying that during that whole thing, 2 other dudes came over and started talking to him, saying if you hit her, we're gonna fight you. And Anthony Cumia said that in that moment he said, "This isn't your game." And, it was like such an embarrassing thing, like in retrospect to say, but you don't know why you say those things in the moment. I think those moments are like 95% of the reason why I avoid, like talking to people. Because I'm just no good. I'm just so bad at just talking, I mean, I'm good at talking to myself down here when, there's no pressure and I can just talk. But, otherwise I'm just terrible at interacting with others. Not over the internet. Well, I mean, even over the internet, it's bad. I think my main problem is that I just fucking have like a freak out every time like somebody new talks to me. I don't have this problem with Lillian. I can say, we have just insane conversations. But people that I don't talk to very often, like Nick, I'll talk to Nick like once every month. And with my conversations with him, my speech, it just fucks up so badly. Like I'll start reverting to like a Philly accent, like a really thick Philly accent, which I realize that I have a Philly accent, just talking normally like I am now. Like I know it seeps through sometimes, and I just can't help it. But if I talk to Nick, there'll be moments where I'm just like, I'm hearing myself speaking in this fucking horrific Philly accent and just like, ew, ugh, you sound like so bad. You just, sound horrible. But yeah, that's how it goes. I just had a moment there of, you may have been able to hear it, like a moment of nervousness. I don't know if that came through or not. It was like in that little pause there that I had. In that moment, I was recalling listening to Opie and Jim. And this was like a year ago. It might have even been like a year and a half ago. But they had this intern named Adrian, and he said that he could do a half hour of radio by himself. And then, Opie was like, okay, we'll let you try. And then, the next day he came on the radio, and it was just him trying to do a radio half hour by himself. And in that moment, for some reason, I was just pretending that I was Adrian on that show, and pretending what it would be like to have like millions of people listening to you at once. This has come up before on this journal shit. Where I'm talking, so it must be something coming from my subconscious, where I was talking about like how scary it must be to like talk to a lot of people at talk on the radio, like on that live air sort of situation, like how frightening that must be, or for your first time or whatever. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It's got to be something going on in my subconscious with that. We were up to 8 minutes when I just checked here, 8:49, but we'll keep going for keeping going's sake. I started writing a little bit of the lyrics on the album tonight. I think it's part of me really, really, really wants to start doing YouTube again. Like continuing on with the Moonside Adam idea and just taking the philosophy that I have with running, which is do it no matter how you feel, do it just consistently. Taking that philosophy and applying it to YouTube with just, make a song every week, no matter how you fucking feel, no matter how good or bad you think the song is. And because the more important thing is consistency, frequent uploading. Rather than quality. Well, I mean, quality, of course, matters, but, that's, it's only part of the story. So, I think after this album is done, I may have said this already on this journal, but after this album is done, I'm gonna really, really, really fucking focus on YouTube. And, I think just part of me suspects that it's going to be 2017 instead of my birthday that I get this album done. I mean, I could be wrong. I could be done in like 2 months for all I know. But, part of me just really suspects that it's going to be like album done, and then it's, I'm going to see my 30s as like, okay, you've had enough practice, time to put this shit into motion. Like, I see my 20s as like the cocoon period, and I've said it's so stupid. I've said this before of other periods in my life where I've said like, oh, I'm just in the cocoon phase. Pretty soon I'm gonna break out. But it never happens. So maybe that's something going on in my subconscious as well. Who knows? Yeah, but I'm gonna see my 30s. I'm just really, really into buckling down and applying the knowledge that I've gained in my 20s. Applying that. The 30s is about applying the knowledge. The 20s was about attaining the knowledge. And I feel like I've got semi-good instincts just from the amount of shit that I've consumed so far. Like on YouTube and stuff. Like, I see people starting YouTube channels, and they're just like, I can see everything they're doing wrong. Like, it was something about Chris Rock saying in that there was like the 4 comedians. Chris Rock was saying during that show, they have to understand the premise. I think the big thing is that they have to understand the premise. And I just said it like Chris Rock would say during a stand-up comedy routine. Like, da 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 da. He repeats the premise all the time. And so, they have to understand the premise, I think, is the main thing here. Just part of me feels like I still want to go on with this shit, but we're like at 12 minutes already, so I think I'm actually just done with the journal tonight, so goodbye.